Aloha and welcome. I am your hostess with the most. Wow, I look really, really lopsided. I don't know whether it's the camera or it's me. Um, my name is Geralyn Joseph, and I'm here to talk about the energy that's happening right now, what to expect. We're going to do a couple of little card pulls, and you get to see my beautiful girl Pikachu here. She's hopefully she won't bug me while we're doing this because I tried to do it a little bit earlier and she was like, "No, no, mom, this is no, we're not doing this." So we'll see. We'll see how far I get this time. Let's see. Oh, okay. So, what is happening right now? That is a good question. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't been feeling very jovial. I haven't really been feeling myself lately. And I don't like that because I'm not generally like that. I usually am a pretty upbeat person, fairly chipper. And yet, for whatever reason, I'm feeling like very down lately. And I generally do not let myself sit in those emotions for too long, which may be healthy, might not be healthy. Personally, I think it's healthy because I can pull myself out of things, but I also allow myself to feel the feels, if you know what I mean. Right now, we're going through a period of time where there's so many different things hitting us from different areas. In many countries, as well as in America, like there's a lot of upheaval. There's a lot going on. We don't know what's going on with our leaders. We're not sure about the direction that we're going in. I think right now, since we're post election, here in America, we're a little bit more stable and we're a little bit more sure of our course. Whereas I know that France just had a big upheaval in their leadership. And of course, there are several wars happening right now. With all of this occurring and the planet being such a small place, especially now with internet, like everybody's connected to everybody, there's a real sense of waiting for the next shoe to drop or the other shoe to fall. And basically, what spirit wants me to convey to you is that that's not necessarily the right way to look at it. Astrologically, right now, and if you are seeing this after, like you might see this 2 or 3 years from now, whatever we're going to say in the readings will probably instruct you in some way and help you in some way because a lot of these energies are very long, like it's very stretched out, and then they're cyclical also. So things will come back around, and what might be happening in my life might happen to you at some other point, as opposed to at the very same time as I'm dealing with it. Now that being said, astrologically, there's a lot going on. We're in the midst of a solar, what do they call it? A solar apex or a solar. I'm going to call it an apex. I know it's not the word they use. It's not the official word. However, basically what that means is that the poles on the sun have flipped. And when they flip, it creates a lot of chaos within the sun. When there's a lot of chaos there, what it does is it shoots off streams all around, which means that we then get solar storms. And it affects us much more now than in the past because of how much we have going on electronically. Now, this is just, I'm not a scientist. I watch a few people who are really interesting and really good at explaining this in a more scientific means. I'm only going by what I'm sensing and feeling and what I'm seeing my clients go through and what I'm seeing my fellow intuitives and psychics and sensitives dealing with. So, with all this chaotic energy, a lot of energy is being thrown to the earth. And that means, like, so far as solar energy, the Earth is taking in a lot more. There's a lot more in the atmosphere than normal. Now, again, this is a cycle, and this cycle happens every so many years. It's not like every 1 or 2, it's more like every decade or so, if not longer than that. But with how much radiation and how much, energy is already in our atmosphere that our bodies are dealing with all the time, we're dealing with having a cell phone on or around us, we're dealing with cell phone towers, we're dealing with 5G, which is worse than the iterations before that, because the signal's a little bit different and it affects us differently. Wi-Fi, I mean, there's so much going on in our atmosphere it makes your body vibrate. It makes you buzz. And kids who were born into this time period where they're used to all this cacophony of sounds and energies around them all the time, they're built a little bit differently. So their wiring is a little bit different. They're a little more, in some ways, they're more sensitive, and in other ways, they're more sturdy. So they're dealing with things a little bit differently than we are, but everybody's feeling this buildup, like this sense of, being stressed and needing change. Things need to happen. Something needs to happen. On that note, astrologically, things are happening that are unveiling a lot of things that have been hidden previously. So if you ever wanted to do shadow work or you wanted to work with a good therapist and you wanted to deal with things that have been hidden, things in your past, things in the family, that are secrets that are hidden, now is the time to do it. And I think right now we're also going into Mercury retrograde, which a lot of times that's like a big thing, and it is going to affect people, but it's not as big as these other more expansive energies that are hitting us right now. My advice is, if you are feeling so overwhelmed, there's a couple things that you can do to help yourself be more calm. And I see somebody is in the chat. Thank you. Please excuse me if I don't answer the chat or get to the chat right away, only because I have things in front of me, so I don't see it as well as I could. There we go. I don't know what we're doing with this. Okay. Um, this is for when I start doing the cards. Oh, there was a reason why I had it on that side. Okay. Anyway, um, it's time for the truth tellers to come out, because things that have been hidden are now, we're going to see these things. Because we're already bombarded with all this other stuff, we might feel like, oh, it's too much. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. But you need to know. And as I was saying, there are things that we can do to help minimize the effect of all this stuff around us, all this energy that's just out in the airwaves now. We could protect ourselves from that to a certain extent. The first thing is, you need to pull yourself into the now and really breathe. I know that sounds like breathe, but most of us breathe from the top of our chest instead of taking a full belly breath and allowing our bodies to really oxygenate. So let's just do a little experiment. Follow my breathing. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in as much as we can. We're going to hold it, and then we're going to breathe out really slowly. And we're going to do that 2 or 3 times and see how your body feels when you do that. Okay? Let's start. And again, breathe in. And relax. And one more time. And let it go. Now, just while you're with me, try and take deep breaths rhythmically. Just be aware when you're not breathing deeply. Be aware when you're just breathing at the top of your lungs, because you're not allowing your body to take in everything it needs in order to combat the stuff that's coming at it when we're not oxygenated, when we're not breathing properly. And it sounds so simple, and yet it's something so many of us forget to do, and we don't even realize that we're doing it or not doing it, as the case may be. The other thing to do is make sure you don't have electronics in your bedroom. When it's time for bed, when it's time for sleep, either shut off the cell phones or just don't have them near you. And I know a lot of us have our cell phones as our alarm clocks and everything. Buy an old fashioned alarm clock. It's so much better for your health, and it's much better for your sleeping. If you can't do that, then at least put the cell phone away from your body, like put it across the room, so that, yes, when your alarm goes off, you have to get up and shut it off. But that way, the energy that it's emitting and the energy that it's pulling in is not going to be near your physical body. So it's better. If there's any way to shut off the Wi Fi in your home, that's a great thing to do. Shut it off. And I'm not talking about forever, it's got to be off, but like when you go to bed, you shut it off. Like have it off from 10 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning or whatever your hours are. Try to take time every day to be out of that environment, to be out of the environment of um, Wi-Fi and electricity and having your phone and being at the computer and all that. Go and literally hug a tree. Be in green. If you can't, if you live in the middle of New York City and you can't be someplace green, have at least a house plant. And even if you have pictures of green and pictures of beautiful um, landscapes and things like that, that can be helpful also. And allow your mind to really put yourself in those places. Grounding is important. So whenever you can be out in green and you can touch leaves and can be barefoot in the grass, if that's at all possible, and I know a lot of places it's not, at least put your hands on something that's alive and that's connected to the earth. A tree is always stellar. A flower, a bush, um, a vine, anything like that that you can touch. Make sure it's not poison ivy or something like that, and that you're not allergic. Um, you got to be smart about these things. But to give yourself that time to decompress, and we really are decompressing, is really important. And at the end of this live stream, we will do a little guided meditation so that we will be in nature and be around things that we want to be around. Things that we want to pull that energy in. We want to draw that energy in. Okay. You got to stop and smell the flowers, literally. And kindness matters. Kindness is infectious. When someone is kind to you, you're more apt to be kind to someone else. So start that ball rolling. Be kind to the people around you. Be kind to the people who love you. Be kind to the people who are nasty to you. I find myself that when I'm someplace and the person is very, excuse me, a person gets very like harsh, that the easiest thing to do is to be kind back. You don't have to react to people and what they're putting up. You don't need to put up the same thing. You could put up something completely opposite, and that may help that person. That might bring them to a point where they can express and they'll feel better. So for instance, there's two ways to do it. One is just to be blank and allow whatever that energy is to just dissipate, that it doesn't even touch you. The other is to surround them with kindness and with loving energy, even if they're yelling at you. I've had different situations where I've been in management. Everybody's always screaming at management. So what we would do is we would go to them, and I would be like, "Are you okay? You seem like you're really stressed. Like, what's going on? What's happening?" When you see somebody, especially if you're someplace and you have the time and you see somebody who looks like they're on the verge of tears, and just to show a little kindness and just to say, "Are you okay?" To let them know that somebody cares. Now, can you do this with someone who is really raging in your face or something like that? You don't wanna put yourself in danger. There are ways to really take the legs out from under different situations so that they do not escalate, so that they don't get worse, so that they calm down, and that's what you want. You want to spread kindness, you wanna spread understanding, you wanna spread actually listening, and that is something that right now at this point in time, we're being shown that listening matters, being authentic matters. So instead of next time when you're talking to somebody that you consider your friend, the next time, instead of just saying what you think they want to hear, try telling the truth. It might not be what they want to hear. And I'm not saying, like people say, that brutal honesty. Honesty doesn't have to be brutal. The person may still take it that way, but it doesn't have to be delivered that way. So when someone is asking you something, try to be as authentic as possible in answering. And if somebody just needs you to listen and you are listening to them, one of the best things to do is to turn around and be like, just to actively listen to them and then say, "Do you want my opinion?" And people will say either yes or no. Or they might say, "I don't know." If they say, "I don't know," that's usually a no. And say, all right, you can vent if you just need to vent. That's fine too." But if somebody's asking for your opinion, it's because they value it. They are not necessarily going to do what you tell them to do. However, sometimes it's about planting a seed. And being honest with someone shows you that and shows them that you care. Being dishonest is not being a real friend. That's not helpful. So, I'm gonna get off my soapbox right now, and we're gonna do a little card reading. I don't know if anybody had, any questions. I don't see any yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a basic. I'm gonna use the tarot. This is the Rider-Waite deck. And I'm not gonna use it. This is not gonna be the only deck that I use, but I figure people know this deck, and I teach with this deck. So sometimes it's good to use in these kind of situations so that you get a good baseline for people. And just a reminder, I have cat fur on my face. This is why you're going to see me doing this a lot because the both my cats were up in my face right before we went on live. Um, just a reminder, I do teach tarot. It's called the Soul of Tarot, and you can either take it as a live course where you're in a Zoom room with other people and we're sharing and learning and together, or you could take it as a web class. I have it up on my website. The way I teach tarot is so that you can pick up any deck and read it. You can pick up almost anything and read it. You just need to know basic things. And it's about opening up to your intuition, not about memorizing cards. There's no memorization. Because a card may mean one thing at one time, and then second time it can mean something completely different. That's why I like the tarot, the Rider-Waite, because the Rider-Waite, there's so much in every card because there's always stuff in the background. You're dealing with colors, numbers, sometimes astrological symbols, and there's just so much there. Okay. All right, Spirit. What is it that we most need to know? What would help us out most right now? Oh my, the beautiful High Priestess. So, the High Priestess is all about balance. She's all about, oh, that's why I moved that. Now, I was talking about earlier about things that were hidden being brought into the light. And that's what she has. She has the Torah there. And part of it is covered. So part of it is part of the word occult means that it's covered. It's hidden. So it's not necessarily, the occult doesn't necessarily mean that it's something bad or anything like that. It's more about something either that everybody knows or that is more like knowledge that is not as, oh, there we go. I knew I'd figure it out at some point. That is not as well known. Knowledge that needs to be learned and sought after. So if you look at her, she's so beautiful. She's between the two pillars, and they're two colors. It's severity and mercy. And she's in the center. So it's about balance. She has the cross on her chest. She has the moon on her head. She has the pomegranates around her. Her wardrobe flows and becomes water, and it's over the moon. So all these are very feminine symbols, which is interesting because we're in a period of time, and it's going to get more intense, where the feminine is more active. So everybody has masculine and feminine in their being. Everybody does. The most masculine guy in the world has some feminine aspects, and vice versa. And there's no need to change the outside in order to really express who you are, or in order to even explore those two sides of yourself. Now, it's not always 50-50. Usually you have a dominant masculine or feminine, and it doesn't matter what your body is. Your energetic could be like, you might be a more masculine female. What does that mean? Well, masculine energy is more direct. It's more about the pursuit and going after things, whereas feminine energy is more effused. It's more where you draw things into you. Feminine is more nurturing. Masculine is more protective. Now, a mother, is very, very nurturing and very protective. And a father can be very, very nurturing and very protective. Does it mean that the father should be the mother or the mother should be the father? No, it means that there's a balance of all these energies within us, and everybody is a different recipe. So I might be, on some days we used to, my father used to say I was a business bee, BITCH, because I was in a high powered position where I was in charge of a lot of people. I was dealing with a lot of men who were in high power positions, and I had to assert myself in a certain way in order to do my job. But then he said, you want to leave that person on the doorstep. Don't let that person come in my house because I don't like her, he said, which was true. It was a persona. It was something that I put on. It was not who I am. It was a piece of me. It was a part, but it's not really a major part of my essence. Hence why I didn't stay in the corporate world, because the corporate world, for the most part, is very masculine in its nature. You can operate in the feminine in it, And I think we're just beginning to figure out how to do that. Like women are really beginning to figure out how to stand out in their craft and how to use their own feminine energy and do things in a more feminine way, which is equal to the masculine. It's not the same, but it's equal. So when we look at that, what we're looking at is the divine feminine. This is the divine feminine. She is the Holy Mother. She is um, the purveyor of knowledge, the one who brings balance, the one that you seek refuge in. And with the water at the bottom of her skirt and the moon, also, all this is about emotion. Two is about emotion. Two is the emotional body. It's also about dichotomy. So the emotional body is split between the masculine and the feminine aspects. And it's also, I mean, think about it. When you're feeling emotional about stuff, how often do you fight with your brain about I shouldn't be feeling this way or this is awful, and then you make it last so much longer than it needs to be, and then you got to fight with your brain in order to get out of that emotion. So this is about balance, and it's about moving at a higher frequency than we have previously. It's about lifting ourselves up. And as we lift ourselves up, we lift up those around us. When we talk about being in a higher frequency and um, having a high vibe, when we are vibrating at a higher frequency, it vibrates everything around us. So people will react one of two ways. Either they're going to want to be around you because it feels really good to be there, or they're going to go in the other direction because they want to it feels so uncomfortable for them to be in a high vibration. They want to stay where they are. They want to vibrate the way they vibrate and they don't want any changes. So now is the time where you really need to decide which direction do you want to go in. Are you going to open up and see objectively everything that's around you and really feel into it intuitively? Or are you going to allow your emotions to run away with you? Are you going to choose fear, where you're going to allow fear to dictate who you are and what you do? Or are you going to choose to be authentic and come into your own and figure out what your own power is? Power is not a dirty word. It is not bad to be in your power. Power doesn't necessitate putting somebody else down. Power doesn't mean that you have to stand on somebody else's head. That is not necessary. Power is about being able to stand up and be who you are. You know, you find this balance, and sometimes you're not in balance. I mean, most of the time we're not in balance because we're human. But it's in striving for that harmony, and it's in striving for understanding of other people. And just like in the High Priestess, where we see the scroll is partially hidden, but it seems almost like she's pulling it out from under the cover. We are now in a time where it's very difficult to hide things. So don't even try. Be authentic, be who you were born to be, and allow yourself to speak your truth and allow people around you to speak their truth and really listen. You know, have the tough conversations. Now is the time to do that. And I feel like as we're going into a new year, we all look forward to the new year like, oh, things are going to magically change. Well, it feels like things don't necessarily magically change, but at the turn of the year, I feel like there's a shift between the 21st and the 25th energetically. Um, there's a shift. And then as we move into 2025, we're going to see that we're going to see things starting to coalesce and come together. And we need to decide how we're going to react to these changes, especially as we move through 2025, because we're going to see big changes this year on a lot of different levels. We choose how we react to things, or rather, how we act towards something. You don't want to react because reaction does it. There's no sense in that. There's no brain power that goes into that. You want to be able to act and look at certain things. I have the blue circle of death. Okay, hopefully that didn't freeze. But we need to decide who we're going to be moving forward. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. We need to decide how authentic we are going to be and how much we are going to um, really follow our inner guidance and the divine. Okay, so that's the first one. That's the high priestess. What else would you like us to know, Spirit? Again, balance and another number two. Interesting. Very interesting. So if we look at this Two of Pentacles, so this is what's called a major arcana card. A major arcana is usually denotes a major life event, major changes, something that's really important that you really have to pay attention to. Now, Spirit is hitting us over the head at this point with two twos. And both of these, if you see the water in the back, draws your eye, and then the water at the bottom of this card draws your eye. That's all about emotions. And this is about tumultuous emotions. Like you don't know how to feel. You're trying to figure out how to feel. What is going to happen? You're anxious, you're upset, you're dealing with so much. And what this is saying is keep your eye on the prize. Everything will be okay. Everything is as it should be right now. We don't like to hear that a lot of times because we're not where we want to be. We're not where we thought we would be. Maybe things aren't going so great, but things are as they should be right now. You're in a good position. We need to figure out from there where we want to go. So it's about keeping your balance, keeping things in balance, and not allowing anything to really knock you off your balance. You find your inner peace and you can hold on to that. So I like to look at him. If you look at him, I love that hat. I'm going to get a hat like that. You look at him and the way he's moving the pentacles, it makes them pentacles, coins, it's also called. Um, and he's on one leg, he's trying to balance, he's moving things around. You see the water behind him is like really crazy. You see the ships, but they're on the top of the crest. They're not being defeated by the water. They're kind of doing their thing. So if your eye is drawn to the water at first, it could be telling you that you're about to overcome something. You're over the hump or you're getting over the hump. You're almost there. Don't give up. You can also look at him and think that maybe there's an earthquake happening with the water doing that and he's like shaking back and forth. What is happening? So again, balance. You can overcome and you are where you are supposed to be right now. Okay. And this is what's called a minor arcana card. So the minor arcana is more mundane stuff. It's more everyday. Whereas the majors, especially if you get a lot of major arcana in a reading where you're using like 10 cards or more, that's telling you to really pay attention. Oh my God. A two, another two. That's three. 3 twos. 2, 2, 2. Oh my goodness. If you don't believe me, look. Look. 2, 2, and 2. So we have the Two of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, and the two of the major arcana. Wow. Wow. That is just wow. Okay. All right, Spirit, we get it. 2. We got to deal with our emotions. So this is the Two of Wands. Wands are about movement, they're about intention, they're about inspiration. And what the Two of Wands is telling you, you see, he's got the whole world in his hand and he's looking out over the harbor. So 2, again, is a number of emotion. and he's looking at water, again, emotion. But he's behind these fortifications. He's on the top. He's able to see the whole picture. I think a big message for us right now is that we really need to look at the big picture and stop minimizing everything. Stop looking at just like this part of it instead of just looking at one thing. It's like trying to put a jigsaw puzzle together and not knowing what the picture is supposed to be, just like trying to figure out what goes where. If you know what the whole picture is, it's a lot easier to navigate and to do things. So, and if you look at him, he looks rather serene. He's thoughtful. He's looking, okay, what is my next step? Where am I going to go? And again, I feel very strongly that one of the things that we're being told in this time is not to feed the fear. Don't allow fear to judge any of your actions. Don't allow fear to be the driving force in anything that you're doing or anything you think you should do or anywhere you think you should go. Fear is not the answer. Fear is not the way to do things. You can use fear as an impetus. You could use fear to help you direct, because when you face your fears, you become stronger. But when you're allowing fear to like overcome you and weigh you down, that is not helpful in any way. And it's not going to allow you to really um, do what you need to do ultimately. It holds you back. So that's wild. 3 2s. What are the odds that we would sit here? There's 78 cards. There's 78 cards. And out of these 78 cards, there are 5 with the number 2 on them. 5. Wild. Just absolutely wild. And 3 times. We picked 2s 3 times. That's awesome. So, Spirit really wants to let you know you need to figure out your emotions. You need to, by figuring out your emotions, you will figure out how to have them work with you and how to have them help you out, because that's really important. It is very important that you do that. So, 2 is the number of the day. If you're a betting person, I would bet on something that's a 2. This is not psychic advice. I'm not telling you how to spend your money, but hey, 3 2s in a row, crazy. Alrighty. So, I think with that, we're gonna get off. I know I've only been on for about 38 minutes, but, I feel like the impact is there. What you're supposed to know, you got from the conversation. If you have other questions, if you wanna ask me questions, if you want to schedule a specific time, or if you want a reading or anything like that, you let me know. My website is GeralynStJoseph.com. Geralyn is spelled with a G. Please like and subscribe. And also right now, because we're right after Thanksgiving, we're doing Psychic Saturday. You know, like Black Friday, I do Psychic Saturday every year where I give special prices. So my normal hour session is 525, and my very low special for this time of year is 260 or 240. Making up numbers now, 240. It's $60 per 15 minutes. And that's only for the beginning of December. And I do that every year, but next year will be at a higher price because my prices are probably going to change. So if you want to try me out and you want a reading, now's a good time to do it. Contact me. You can contact me through YouTube. And my email address is Geralyn@voiceofspirit.com. And let's schedule something. Let's see what Spirit has to say to you. And if you'd like to learn about the tarot and you would like to start reading for yourself, you could use it for business or for personal things. The way I teach is we go through like all the different symbolism, colors, numbers, astrological signs, and things like that that's in it. And we use the Rider Waite deck, which looks like that, because it has the most symbolism in it, I feel. And you could either take that course as in person on Zoom, or you could take the web course, which is pre-recorded, and then you could go at your own speed. Otherwise, we do once a week for usually 4 to 6 weeks, depending on where my students are when we start. Alrighty, it's Geralyn St. Joseph. You have a blessed evening, and I'm happy to share with you. Remember, get your feminine on. The divine masculine and divine feminine are coming together. It's time for us to acknowledge both and to look for that balance within ourselves and all around us. God loves you, and so do I. Mahalo. How do I shut this thing off? Bye bye.